The Iowa Hawkeye women have won 5 straight now and 11 of their last 12. Yes, Iowa is rolling. And another win on Saturday over the Nebraska Cornhuskers. I'll give you my thoughts, my dialogue following the game, and how far can Iowa go? We'll talk about it because the schedule gets tough here in the next couple of weeks. But first, I want to tell you about Ascent Nutrition. This company's been with us for quite some time now. Certainly give them a chance, including their algae oil DHA. It's a product that is changing lives. It contains 250% more DHA per unit than fish oil. And of course, it benefits your overall health, your brain, your nervous system. Check out this algae oil DHA. It's simple, easy to take daily, folks. Visit goascentnutrition.com. We've got a code for you. Use the code Hawkeyes. That's Hawkeyes at checkout. You get 15% off your order. Thanks to Lance Shuttler and his team down at Ascent Nutrition. And Lance is an Iowa graduate, so you're supporting a former Iowa Hawkeye. Speaking of the Iowa Hawkeyes, the women defeating the Nebraska Cornhuskers on this Saturday, the 28th day of January, 2023. 80-76, the Hawkeyes coming out on top after a really rough start. I mean, the Hawkeyes had dug themselves a 10-point hole, had struggled to score. We had a weird clock malfunction in that first quarter that delayed things at least 7 or 8 minutes. Iowa dug deep and found a way to get that offense going. And the defense was not good to start out. I mean, there's no question about it. Gave up 21 quick points, and they were on pace to give up over 80, but found a way at the end of that first quarter to begin a run. And when it was all said and done, we're talking, second quarter, late second quarter, the Hawkeyes had responded with a 22-2 run to go up 33-23. And credit to Caitlin Clark. What a day for her once again. 33 points, 12 boards, 9 assists, 1 assist away from another triple-double, which I've been a guy who's said this for a long time. Who cares? I know Lisa Bluter doesn't agree with that. Who cares if she gets a triple-double? Because right now, the way she's sharing the ball, the way she's shooting and rebounding, this team can go a long ways purely off what it does on the offensive end. We're seeing that because they're not playing tremendous defense, but they're playing good enough defense to win a lot of games in this conference. It's maybe a different discussion once we hit March. We'll get to that in a second. So Cornhuskers fought. They went on a run in that fourth quarter, actually cut it to 67-61. I thought a really bad call against Nebraska. Caitlin Clark ended up falling down. I believe it was on a rebound on the Nebraska end of the court, and a foul was called on Nebraska. Late whistle after Clark had hit the floor. Not saying there wasn't contact there, but I thought it was a weak call. Iowa gets the ball. Quick three from Clark. Boom, you're up 9. And that was pretty much all she wrote. Nebraska continued to fight, but never really felt like they had enough in the tank. I mean, they clawed and clawed, even made a 3 in the final play of the game to cut it to a final of 80-76. And Nebraska is struggling right now as well. They were hot early. They have dug themselves a hole. They are on the bubble, perhaps even a little bit below that bubble right now. But this is still a good win for the Hawkeyes. I mentioned Clark with 33 points on 5 of 12 from 3, 9 of 26 overall. So, I mean, overall, she missed quite a few shots. You're going to get 20 to 26 shots a game from Caitlin Clark. 10 of 12 from the free throw line. I mentioned the 12 rebounds and the 9 assists. She played 37 minutes. That's what you're going to get night in and night out from her. How about Monica Sinano? She played 32 minutes, was 7 of 10 from the field for 17 points. Perfect from the free throw line, 3 of 3. She had 7 boards as well. She did have 5 turnovers, and that's an area that has got to improve. And at times, she's put in difficult positions, I think, on entry passes, and sometimes, depending on what happens, she can turn the ball over down there. And she's had a little bit of a bugaboo here lately with traveling. And again, I understand footwork is of utmost importance when you're talking about bigs at this level. She did have the 5 turnovers. Those will be things she will need to clean up. And Clark had 6 turnovers. In fact, 11 of the team's 15 turnovers were from either Clark or Sinano. Molly Davis, 5 points for her. She started. Still no McKenna Warnock as she continues to heal from an injury. Davis had the 5 points, 4 boards, 1 assist, no turnovers. And she's going to be handling the ball a lot, especially with another weapon out in McKenna Warnock. Kate Martin had 6 points, 5 boards, 6 assists. They're still going to need her at times. Gabby Marshall had 7 points and 5 rebounds for Gabby Marshall to go along with 1 assist. Sydney Falter, she's playing more and more with the depth issues. Didn't score today, but did log a total of 12 minutes. Hannah Stolke with 21 minutes. She continues to impress as a freshman. 12 points for Hannah, 4 or 5 from the free throw line, 4 of 9 overall from the field in 21 minutes of play. AJ Ediger got in there as well, as did Addison O'Grady. And I would say that the final 3 quarters of this game, Iowa played decent defense. I mean, I don't know that there's been a game where I've looked at Iowa and said, wow, they really tore it up defensively. Whereas you look at the men against Michigan State the other night, I thought they played really good defense basically from start to finish, especially in the first 8 to 10 minutes of the game. Iowa was okay. I mean, Iowa right now can get almost whatever they want against almost any team. We even saw it against Ohio State. I mean, Iowa scored 83 points at number 2 Ohio State. Now, Ohio State is not going to give you the athleticism that some of the best teams in the country. I mean, of course, the first team that pops out at you is South Carolina. Iowa has found a special ability to score on just about anyone, and I think it's just incredible. Iowa's averaging 91 points in conference play. 91. All right. Now, I don't believe that takes into account the 80 from today, but nevertheless, they're hovering around 90 points per game, which is just incredible. They've got games against Indiana, Maryland coming up. Those will be difficult. Obviously, Indiana's rolling right now, and Maryland is a team with athletes, and it's always really hard to beat. Iowa struggles traditionally with the Terrapins. But it's one of those things that we continue to talk about defense and rebounding, and today, as it relates to rebounding, Iowa actually won that stat 43-32. If they can now rebound teams to a margin of that significance, along with being able to score basically at will, they're going to be hard to beat even with subpar defense. And I think the bottom line, folks, is you're going to get probably below average defense from this team. Part of that is how Iowa plays, right? You kind of say the same thing about the men at times, although the men don't traditionally dominate on the glass. A little bit smaller, and of course, they've dealt with some issues with development at the 5. But I digress. The women have a chance if they can rebound this well heading into February and March and score as well as they are and stay healthy, right? You're going to get McKenna Warnock back, just another offensive threat, another leader on the court. Iowa has an opportunity to beat almost anybody on their schedule. I could see them getting to the Elite 8 or Sweet 16, even with that subpar defense. Now, once you get to the Elite 8, I mean, depends on matchups, right? I mean, there are teams that are going to give Iowa difficulties, especially teams who are really athletic, really long. If you have a really athletic, physical guard who can get into Caitlin Clark and make it difficult for her and get under her skin, that's the one thing I'd say. The one chink in Caitlin Clark's armor, certainly defense has never been her strength, but sometimes you can get under Caitlin's skin, and sometimes that comes back to bite you. But I think sometimes Caitlin maybe gets a little bit too involved in her head, if that makes sense. You don't want the moment to get to you in those types of games when we're talking a more physical brand of basketball. That'd be the one thing I wonder about once we get to March is, will she get rattled when teams are more physical with her? And perhaps you get into the NCAA tournament and things are officiated differently than we see in the Big Ten Conference with Caitlin Clark. That's a question, but she is the best player in the country. Leah Boston would maybe stake a claim to that, but I think she's the best player in the country, so she's probably going to get favorable whistles as she did today. But the bottom line is, good win for the Iowa women against a good team, probably an NCAA tournament team, but work to do for the Huskers. Again, 80-76, the final on this Saturday. Appreciate you tuning in for another segment here from the Hawkeye of the Storm. A reminder to please like and subscribe and tell me what you thought of Iowa's 80-76 victory, which was televised nationally on Fox. How about the exposure for the Iowa women? Home game for the men tomorrow on Sunday. Iowa postgame with Coach Gary Close. After the game, stay tuned for an official announcement as it relates to timing of that, because we've got NFL playoffs and different things going on tomorrow. So stay tuned for more information. But again, Iowa Rutgers in Carver Hawkeye Arena, 1 p.m. Central Time on Big Ten Network.